Okay, so this will probably be a series of tutorials, and the whole idea is how to create kind of a distressed metallic surface. In this case, the render that you're seeing, there's kind of like a paint surface on top, and then underneath there's some metal peeking through because of all the scratches and the wear and tear, right? And doing this is like an introduction to kind of more intermediate to advanced ways of thinking about creating some materials in Redshift in Cinema 4D. So I've got this one that I've already created. I'm going to go ahead and just create one from scratch, and we'll do things similar to what's here, but I'm not going to try to exactly recreate that. So first thing is we need to create a material. I don't even know what that one is. So let's just create a new standard material, and I'm going to put it and replace this one that I had done as an example. We'll go ahead and just set up the IPR. So you can see we have a nice clean looking plastic setup. I'm going to go ahead and let's bring this up here. Okay, so maybe just so that it's clear from time to time, let's make it a little more orange maybe. Okay, I'm going to call that good. I just want to put a color on here just so that as I'm setting it up and using a mask to peel away what's below here, that I can see the metal. I don't want to do gray on gray. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this standard material. I'm going to hide the little material window, and I'm going to take the node editor and dock it in my interface. And to do that, I'm just going to click on the little hamburger icon, and I'm just going to drag it in here. You can see as it gets close to an edge within the interface, there are various places that you can drop it. I'm going to drop it just right here on the side of the window, of the 3D window. Okay. And I'm going to close that little panel. That's just right here, a little pop-up. Okay, so I have a material here. I could just go up here and I could do RS. Let's just do this. I guess it's the standard material. So I could just add a new standard material in here. I also could have just clicked on this and duplicated it. But I want to have two different materials. In this one, I'm going to maybe turn down the weight and turn the metalness almost all the way up. And maybe make it a little rougher. So I want something that's a little more just like chrome. Okay, so in this first little tutorial, I'm going to try to break these up into chunks. The goal here is to take these two materials, blend them together, and then use a mask of some sort to make this material shine through in little places, as if the scratches have carved away, like a layer of paint that's on top of this. Okay, so we need something to blend this together. I'm going to hit the little plus sign, and this is where the nodes are found. If I click, so here, nodes, and there's user interface nodes, and there's math nodes, and there's color nodes. Like there's the color layer. We're going to use that one at one point. There's utilities in here for various things. And then there is the material. So inside of here, we have a material layer, which we're going to use in a second. Here's the standard material, right? So you can also just, if I just click on this and I just start to type the word layer, you can see that I have a color layer and a material layer. We're going to use both of those eventually. So let's just create the material layer though right now. And I just double click on it. I'm going to pull it into the scene. And what I want is for this one to go into the base, this one go into the color for layer 1, and this one go into the surface. And what you can see is it totally changed, right? The surface now looks like this metal that we have in here. In fact, even if as I look at this, that roughness is maybe too much. There we go. I want something a little shinier, not quite as dull. Okay, I'm gonna call that good. But right now, this really doesn't do us any good because this one is just completely overriding the base, right? So the base is underneath in this stack, and then here's this this new material. And what I want to do is create an image that only allows this to show in certain places. So to do that, we need to do a couple things. So the first thing is the material layer. If I click on it over here on the side, you can see that here's layer 1. It has a color, right, which is what this is, color here. And into that port is the standard material, right, this standard material. I can name it metal if I want, right? And let's just call it paint, right? So it's a standard material that I've named paint. I've named this one metal. But I need to get at the mask, and it's not visible in here. There's a way to see where it is in this little section, but I'm going to make it visible by just holding down the control key and clicking on the little dot, and that adds this port to the list. Okay, so that's the first one. We're going to go back up to the plus sign again, and let's just do max on noise. Okay, so this noise, I'm going to, in fact, before I put it into the mask, so we can see what it does, on any node that's in here, there is a little S, and this is basically solo, this one. And this is showing me, so no lighting, no reflection, no whatever. It's just showing me what this material is doing. Now, in this mask, I want it to look like there's little dents, little dings in the surface that have allowed this material to, where I want the shiny metal to shine through. So this is not going to work very well, that specific noise. So if I click on noise, I see it over here, and I can choose different patterns, and you need to find the one that's going to work pretty well for this case. So not Pozo, I want Piezo. Okay, so you can see I have these little wispy white areas in there. You know, I could try lots of different, that's going to work later for something else, but let's go with this. Okay, so this is the shading, right? You can see what it's doing along the surface. Keep in mind that this is not connected to anything yet, right? And if I take it and I just put it into the mask layer and I turn off the S, right? I have to, if the solo's on, I can't see it. I'm gonna go to my default camera. And if I zoom in here, you can see this is where the metal is shining through. It's as if it's kind of just got smudged in there, and it's creating some okay effects, right? That's, I mean, depending on what you're trying to do, that's not a bad thing, right? But I don't want it to look like it's a little smudges in there. What I want this to look like is either it's paint or it's metal. And so what I need this to do is be more contrasty. So on the input, oops, sorry, not the, oh, and let's modify the scale a little bit. Let's just make it 50. Okay, so underneath the output, there's a low and a high clip. This is like adjusting levels a little bit. So the more I bring this up, the low clip, it increases the amount of dark. And if I bring down the white clip, it will make it bright, but it will make it hard-edged. Right, so that it's like clearly cutting away. The edge is not very soft. Just out of curiosity. No, let's leave that at 5. Okay. And the more, if I really want to pinch that, so I just get little tiny dings into it, right? I'm just going to pull that black up pretty high. Okay, that's all I want. I want just like a few little dings in the surface. So let's pull back here. All right, just little flecks in there. That totally works. Right, so this is just the beginning of that. So the next thing would be, I'm going to add one more thing to this. So right now I'm cutting away using a mask so that I show one of these two materials. But the other thing I want it to look like is if the paint has a little bit of thickness, even if it's just slight, there should be an indentation right here. And I don't see any right now, right? It just changes from, it's just like there's, the color changes, right? That's on top of it. So it doesn't make it look as realistic. So what we want to do is make this have a bump or an indentation to it. So, oops, let's do it consistently. I'm going to click on this. So I'm going to go search for a bump node. And I'm going to put this, oh, sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. Not a bump blend, a bump map. Okay, so here's the bump map. And really what this does is just control the height, like how much bump is there. So I'm going to take this max on noise and put it into the input, and then I'm going to put this into the bump. And if I zoom in here, what it kind of looks like, and this is just a subtle, in fact, let me look at another little, let's find a different area to zoom in on. So you can see there's a little bit of embossing here on this. So it looks like this is sitting on top of the surface, and I don't want that. I want it to look like there's an indentation going inward to create that little divot that's in there. So the bump map does not have an invert. I guess, oh, actually, you can use an invert node. I could take that. And I could put this into this input and this color out there, and that would do it. But you can also go to the bump map and say the range that comes in. So black is 0 and white is 1. And that's what comes into this node. But what goes out, the new range, let's make this 1 and this 0. And that will flip it around. Like, let's do that again. Right, so this looks like it's slightly on top of the surface. Here, it now looks like it's down inside, right? It's kind of flaked down inside of that. So little subtle things like that. It just, if we do enough of these things, it really makes the surface start to come alive. Okay, so that's, let's go right here. Oops. All right, so that's phase 1, right? I have a little bit of paint on there, and I've cut away at it to add the these little dings. And also we've blended between these. So I always like to keep my tutorials around 15 minutes each, so I'm gonna call this part 1 and pause, and I'll come back with some additional techniques, and then we'll try to put all those techniques together. So there'll probably be 3 sections, and then the 4th section we'll put them all together. So we'll consider this part 1.